Welcome, everyone. This is Cyberbulls. So we have a very, very big show today with Elon Musk just now saying that if you don't play to win, don't play at all. He's referring to the massive compute that Tesla's planning to have by next year. Elon has been, and even more now, all in on Tesla. Today, we'll cover all the things he's doing that will be a game changer for the stock. We've got on board with us some powerhouse cyber bulls. We've got Tesla boomer mama, Alexandra Merz, big contributor to what happened at the shareholder meeting. And of course, we've got the well-loved, well-respected Jeff Lutz, and he's going to answer some questions about the compute power that Elon is referring to. Let's get started with you, Jeff. We'll cover shortly here the information that Elon just dropped about compute. What did you think about what he said about the compute that Tesla's about to do? The company and the product. Don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. I enjoy listening to bears.
You're looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story behind this. It's a perfect setup. If you're responsible for driving the procurement of these data centers into Tesla or Musk companies, you have a CEO that is honestly doing a great job of setting, the table for you. Because what Tesla has to do is maintain a stellar relationship with NVIDIA. And during this time, it's no secret that they're working on their own solution. So rewind the clock back 6-7 years ago, and they were working on their own inference solution for the vehicle. NVIDIA was in the socket and then was removed, but they were a great partner to Tesla, great relationship. The two CEOs respect each other. Tesla built a more purpose-built silicon for inference for their cars that work better. They don't have to pay themselves a margin. They just go to TSMC or Samsung and say, build this for me. And now they got it. Everybody else that's putting perception and inference in their car is paying NVIDIA, 50 to 70% gross margin, and doesn't have their own software. So now we have this infrastructure built out on the data center side. And it's no question that this is an NVIDIA story up to this point. But over the last, 3-4 years, Tesla has been working on Dojo and working on the D1 chip, D1.5, D2, and working on that solution. But during this time, sometimes these projects just don't work. Sometimes you have, you tape out and you get your first lot of silicon and you do your testing like this is a disaster. Or it just didn't meet the mark, or a competitor came out with something that's just so much better, you've really got to go back to the drawing board. So the situation we're in right now is NVIDIA's transitioning. They're going from their H100s to Blackwell in the second half. They'll be ramped up. They'll be shipping into customers. Customers will be receiving Blackwell chips by the end of the year in volume. And they've made sure, by the way, that the ticket to get to Blackwell is you have to be full in on the H100s. It's not like you can just start cutting your orders. And so they've really NVIDIA set themselves up very well too. So with this message or this post from Elon today, it was a perfect setup. And the setup is, hey, look, we're building this gigantic data center. I started talking about the cooling side of it, and you really start getting a glimpse of the infrastructure that's involved to build one of these data centers. I saw some of the commentary over the last couple of weeks, especially when this story, which was interestingly timed regarding, where is Elon allocating H100s between XAI and Tesla? And people just thought like, oh, why wouldn't you just take them and hold them in a warehouse somewhere? Or why wouldn't you just take them and do this? Well, first off, it's billions of dollars of inventory, and you don't want to take that. That would be a huge negative to Tesla shareholders. Second thing is, where are you putting all this stuff? So you look at the size of what's going on with the cooling you saw in that photo you just flashed up, Herbert, and you look at the infrastructure that's involved. And we were at the shareholders meeting last week, and Alexandra, we were driving around. We saw the build out of the new data center. It is a massive structure. It is not done. There's cranes, there's dirt, there's still tremendous amount of work. So now catching up to what Elon said this morning, I think it was just so masterful about it in that message, which was like, hey, this thing's getting built out. First off, in terms of racking and stacking all of this, it's not all Dell. It's Dell and Supermicro, and there may even be a third supplier that emerges at some point. So they're dual sourcing on that side. And then the message came in of, yeah, this will probably be, half NVIDIA and then half Tesla AI and Dojo. So, I mean, now the message is if you think about it, this is why the setup I think is so good. If you're NVIDIA, Tesla has some schedule. They're working on silicon. You know what's going on. NVIDIA knows what's going on. They know what's going on at TSMC. They know the scheduling. He's got a very good relationship with Morris Chang, who's now the chairman there, and he knows. I mean, he knows what's going on at TSMC. He knows what's going on in the industry. So now, if you're NVIDIA, it's like I can get, first off, XAI is building the biggest supercomputer in the world, and Tesla is building this gigantic data center in their Austin campus. And the quicker I get H100s and or Blackwells into Tesla, the more they take. I can basically run and try to race their own schedule for their own AI solution. And what if they run into a problem? What if they run into a schedule issue? So what Elon has done is he set his companies up to get max allocation from NVIDIA, knowing that he's got leverage, that he's working on another solution, and he's done it in a way that won't upset NVIDIA. He's basically giving them a crack at participating in these large clusters. So I think it's a great setup. It's a great example of how to apply leverage in procurement, how to apply leverage in these large tech build-outs.
Thank you, Jeff. So this is the photo that was released. This is the south area of Giga, Texas. You can see this massive fans that are out there. Smokeaway says Elon's building a giant GPU cooler in Texas. Elon says we're nothing without our fans. And we'll talk about shareholder fans later in a second topic with Alexandra. Then he said this, sizing for about 130 megawatts of power and cooling this year, but will increase to 500 megawatts over next 18 months or so, aiming for about half Tesla AI hardware, half NVIDIA and others. And then he said this, play to win or don't play at all. This is music to our ears. Alexandra and I have said, even earlier, as January of this year, we said, we want to go big. We want Tesla to be number one, and it's looking like that they really are investing at all. You said, Jeff, the faster NVIDIA ships to Tesla, the more slots they'll probably get. They're motivated to ship early and often. So Tesla is going to be their number one customers. This is a masterclass. No other OEM in the position of Tesla. Then this guy, Levels SIO, says, no way, Elon literally building a giant GPU graphics card. It does looks like that. And Elon joked around, basically just a graphics card at scale. Omar says half Dojo, half NVIDIA. And then Elon clarified, mostly hardware 4, some Dojo. Then he said, then hardware 5, which has been renamed to AI5 in the second half of next year. He has said a few times now that AI5 is 10 times faster than hardware 4, which is 5 times faster than hardware 3. Boy, this is going to be even the best version of it, AI5 renamed second half next year. The Tesla AI5 computer has over 10 times the capability of hardware 4 computer. Tesla makes the whole software stack. So, let me just continue this anyways. But this guy says, if FSD is basically done, what's the point of this massive GPU supercomputer? This guy says, well, every March of 9, right, to get higher reliability will approximately 10 times the required compute for every March of 9. That's why this is the start, not the end. Elon actually confirmed that. He said, not as high as that, but still very high. The March of 9s of reliability requires massive data and compute. So Alexandra, are you happy with what you're seeing here? Remember from the very beginning, you really wanted them to invest. Is this what you're saying is what you wanted?
Yes, I do. And I actually expect them to update their requirements on CapEx in the next quarterly filing, because remember, Herbert, we said we wouldn't even mind if they do a capital raise. I know people are hoping for buybacks and all that. That's much too early. We're in a period where we have to invest and where time is money, as Jeff explained. It's really crucial to now remain at this rhythm, make sure we have what we need for the compute, and get the robotaxi network up and running. And for that, we just need to invest now. So this will take another year and a half until we can see the fruits of our investments. And again, I would not be shocked. I'm not expecting it tomorrow, but I would not be shocked if there would be another capital raise needed to make this all happen. I mean, if we don't need a capital raise, it really is because Tesla is outperforming. And if you think about it in the long term, we got to this state where there are now 7 million Tesla cars on the street and have produced this enormous infrastructure, have these enormous sales numbers, have optimized anything and continue to optimize anything on the COGS side. And so now comes the moment where a huge investment is necessary again on the financial side. And we're ready for it. And there are few companies that are ready for it. I mean, don't even look at any of the car makers. None of the car makers are ready for this. Even in China, it's going to be complicated for the Chinese to keep up with this rhythm of innovation and investment. So there are only 5, 6, 7. I mean, look at my table that I publish every quarter. There's a reason for that. You have to have the financial strength, either because you don't have that now, but you have the leverage to take them on, or because you have dedicated shareholders that are prepared to accept another capital raise. And there are very few companies that are in this position, and Tesla is.
Do you agree with that, Jeff? Does Tesla need to raise more? I mean, they're already investing $10 billion on AI compute. They announced AI5. They've got FSD happening really quickly. They've got the bots. Do you think that they'll need to raise more?
Most of the other hyperscalers, I would now put Tesla in with the hyperscale, Tesla and XAI,
okay, squarely
in with the other hyperscalers. They've all been raising their in-year CapEx estimates and next year. So I think Google's going up like 50%. This is public information. Famously Meta in their last earnings release increased their CapEx, and got a little bit of scrutiny for that. But everybody's basically raising this year and saying next year is going to be bigger than the raise that they're doing, than the total nut that they're doing for this year. So yeah, it's quite possible that they may need to. I've got to look and see how things are progressing in terms of the auto business, energy, and the ability to continue to produce, cash flow versus the need. But it sounds like Elon is going very big, going very aggressive. And this is one of the things where when you're managing CapEx like this, if you undercall it and you're always operating constrained, you may not have the compute ability to provide your users with a really good offering that works really well. And then all that spend, let's say you spent 10 billion, 15 billion, is somewhat not wasted, but it's not useful. So there's a risk at undercalling this. There's obviously always a risk of going a little bit too heavy on this, but we're really in the early stages of this build out. You hear governments talking about their own sovereign AI. You hear there's just a number, like we're just in the very early innings of this build out. Right now, it's really primarily focused on the hyperscalers, and now it's starting to build out to that second tier, have not got to the government side yet. So, the risk to being on the excess side, I think, is at least a few years out. There's always a risk. Silicon always eventually becomes somewhat cyclical. But I think the pundits have guessed this one wrong, actually, for the last couple of years, and we're nowhere close to an end of cycle. So yeah, you could definitely need more capital. I just want to call out one quick thing. I was looking for the message when I saw Elon say AI5 and build out. To me, it looks like, and I've got to go check around on this, but it looks like they may be discussing building the hardware computers now inside of Austin. And that's an interesting make-buy, analysis to have, which is forever. I mean, basically Tesla designed, AI, 3, or call it hardware 3, hardware 2, 3, 4, and now AI5. And then they send that chip out for fab. And that's going to continue to happen. That's Samsung, that's TSMC, and so forth that build those chip on wafer substrates, or whatever substrate it comes on. But then what they do is they send those to an assembler, and then they make the actual hardware computer with all the other components. These boards are huge, and there's a couple of them. So I'm just, when I heard Elon respond with that, I'm wondering if they're actually putting the CapEx now to do board assembly and actually build the AI5 computers now in Texas instead of sending them out, and then they just go right to the assembly line. It's an interesting thing to just think about. I just saw that in the note. It's not just infrastructure. It looks like he wants to build out the inference side.
Yeah,
and the
very interesting. I mean, he did say Tesla AI5 computer has 10 times the capability of hardware 4, and Tesla makes a whole software stack.
Yeah, that's huge. So that stack right now in the NVIDIA side would be split between NVIDIA, CUDA, and then their automotive platform, and then whatever OEM they're shipping to. Let's say it's BYD or whomever. Now you've got 3 or 4 different people with their fingers in the middle in that. And that's why you wonder, like, what NVIDIA solution is out there shipping, making lots of money. I know they're in Mercedes, but it's a highly restricted system. So it's a question of, like, how will that convoluted system actually work? That's why Elon's calling that point out of Tesla doing that whole stack. It's really important.
I agree. And also remember, I found it remarkable is probably the right word, when he discussed how AWS became an integral part of Amazon last Thursday, right? I mean, it wasn't as if last Thursday was storytelling time, right? He had a short hour to tell us, and yet that story was part of it. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. I mean, there were so many visionary details he gave away, but then spend a couple of minutes on explaining the Amazon path to AWS. I thought, that's interesting.
A lot of things, like, people say that Elon is, distracted and all that. But when you hear an announcement like this, it's not that they just discussed this and decided this a month ago, 2 months ago. This is something they talked about 6 months ago, a year ago. And then as they come out, you discover all the things he's doing. Elon is now all in on Tesla. And he made that comment, if you're not all in the game, then don't get in the game. Do you guys feel that Elon is not only all in, but he is now going to be even more, making more moves? Before we get to that, actually, I want to ask you what you guys thought about the executive top-level software employees are now going to get back, stock options, because as they work out his stock option plan for the future, it sounds like that they're thinking the same thing. What was your thoughts on that, Alexandra?
Well, because they're in Texas now, baby. So it's just the whole structure is so different. I mean, we're probably going to get to the votes a little bit later, but I just want to point out how important it is that we're in Texas. So on the 13th, we voted. The vote became public. And on the 13th in the evening, they incorporated in Texas and informed on the 14th Delaware of those results. So now that we are in Texas, that means that anybody putting in anything in question, anybody who wants to sue now, Tesla has to sue them in Texas, not in Delaware anymore. There may still be stuff we have to clear in Delaware. There's no doubt about it. It's going to take a couple more months, but new stuff that's happening since then. And I don't know whether you've seen, and we're probably getting to that later, there will be preferred stock that's now possible. Their preferred stock could have voting rights, which were not possible before. So many things are happening now that vote is confirmed, that will make it possible for Tesla to incentivize people that have rather this Silicon Valley attitude and, want to make sure they have a high upside. Those are not people that want to have huge salaries straight away, but they want to be sure that if this works and if this materializes, they're not sitting in a big boat that is difficult to steer. They want to have the fruit of their work in terms of stock options where they see a high upside. And this is a competitive market. People in the AI industry are highly sought after, and they are getting huge offers from OpenAI, AI, and other competitors. So Tesla needs to stay competitive and needs to give these people the incentives they're looking for.
What about you, Jeff? Do you think that Tesla is going all out? Like Elon, he's going to make Tesla succeed. Well, he's starting to make some big moves.
Yeah, I think we're just seeing the beginning of it, to be honest. And you could feel like in the room in the shareholders meeting, you could sense that he's definitely all in, and you can see the messaging in his post and the kind of the percent of his conversation and time that's on Tesla, that's on AI, is huge. And you really have to just stop and just think clearly about it. Even the AI efforts that are worked on outside of Tesla, they're not congruent to the actual AI engineers that Tesla has. And this could be a whole show, a whole conversation. But the AI engineers that Tesla have working on autonomy and working on, again, these edge devices are the ones we actually interact with in the real world. And the Tesla engineers are working on how to move these products through the real world safely and consistently. And the ones that are working at XAI are working on basically the kind of the brain side of it in terms of the language model side of it. So they're just completely different. And why did I bring this? I just think it's important. Like, I think the first customers for the work that's being done at XAI are going into the Tesla robotaxi and the Tesla vehicles, and they're going into the humanoid Optimus robot. And I think when you put a wrapper on this whole thing, and Elon's saying, I'm not going to let Tesla shareholders down, and I'm going to make sure that there's early kind of primary access to what we're building. I think this is all starting to make sense. You look at the data center build outs, you look at, this is, again, you have to keep reminding people, this GPU cluster in Memphis, this is the biggest one ever made. And then the size of the one being built in Texas. I don't hear the GM announcement. I don't hear the Ford or the BYD cluster announcement. I don't hear any of these other announcements. I don't hear the figure. Not the case on all the startup humanoid robot companies, but I don't hear those announcements. And there's a reason behind that. And again, I think, just to put a wrapper on this whole thing, this whole vertically integrated solution that he's building, in the end, I think is going to be the most efficient and work the best, owning this whole stack from top to bottom. No, I mean, I can't think of one other company that actually owns this complete stack, all the way from the network infrastructure side, all the way down to the edge device that the consumers are using, and they own that complete stack, hardware and software and manufacturing.
It's so coming together. It's incredible. It's just incredible to watch. Another thing, just before we move on to other subjects, remember how on that first slide of his presentation, he had all these sentences of, what these people throw out, including, oh, Elon is only a part-time CEO. And when he was reading that, he was like, blah, 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 blah. I love that because it's true. I mean, I take Elon with whatever he has on his plate any day compared to any full-time CEO or any CEO that behaves how they want to. What we see today as a result of all this thinking, of all this strategizing, of all this coming together, because you really understand how the last 15 years have moved us to exactly this point in time, which is so crucial for the next 15 years. And what the heck about part-time CEO? What the heck about all these other things? I loved how he just wiped this whole thing out. Just perfect.
Yeah, you should actually do that. You should actually okay, who would you put in, as a full-time, that would actually do the work better? And quite frankly, if you call it the part-time thing, the areas where he's spending all this other time is so to actually build out this compute, to build out this fully vertically integrated capability that is all coming together. And the Tesla products are going to be the primary show point for all of this work coming together. It's not all perfect. Everything's not great. Every word that comes out of anyone's mouth is never perfect, but you have to kind of look at things holistically. The one example I think that comes to mind is, I think the Lucid CEO was trying to indicate that, Tesla seems distracted. Hey, we've now built, we've now got the most efficient powertrain, and battery combination in the world at Lucid, or 5 miles per kilowatt hour. Great. How much does the car cost? And how much does that whole solution cost? And what's the profitability per vehicle? Now put volume to the side. What would you actually be at scale from a profitability perspective? And then come back and let's have the conversation. The answer is you could do a lot of things in isolation, but when it comes time to actually get the solution to the customer, can you scale? Can you build and scale something profitably? You can't just answer part of the question of, we think we have the best powertrain, but great, but at what cost? And so when I see these criticisms, I try to like step back and analyze. I'm like, well, maybe there's a really good point, or maybe there isn't. Like maybe there was a trade-off discussion during those conversations at Tesla. Like, yeah, we could get to this level of performance, but it would cost us this much, and we wouldn't be building profitable vehicles. So anyway, it's just an interesting the whole part-time CEO thing. If you look at where the company's positioned, I know we're going to get into Master Plan 4, but this is really, and I take the energy from Elon from that shareholder. This is him like, okay, this is him kind of setting up the framework for his next 10 years, and then using that as kind of guiding principles and light posts for his companies now to then build their individual, 1 to 3 year plans to align to that plan. So it's pretty exciting.
It's quite interesting. And even just X, right? He bought X. Now that real time information that's coming in, it's being used to build Grok, which is even better than all the other large language models because it's real time, it's accurate, it's got all the information you need. And now that's needed for you to communicate to the bots. It's needed for you to communicate to the car. It's just how ideal everything came together. And the question is, did he plan this? Did he already think this way ahead, or did he just kind of like some of it is luck? It all comes together. It's brilliant. So we've covered Tesla being the AI leader. We're quite happy with the investment that he has. You guys are predicting that he might actually raise more money because this is such an important part of where the companies are going to go. I want to talk about shareholder meeting recap, and then we'll talk about Master Plan 4 as well. So the shareholder meeting recap, this is the outcome of all the effort that all the retail shareholders did, that Alexandra, Tesla Boomer Mama, what she did, and all the other very important people, Amy, Stefan, K10, Sawyer, and Omar, and there's so many people that was spending so much time to help and rally the troops. You guys contributed 417 million non-broker votes. That's how much you moved the needle. Tell us more about this table. You're on mute.
Yes, let's unmute. With pleasure, I tell you about this. And again, you're completely right. This is not only me. I mean, I love what I did, but this was a teamwork, and I'm very, very happy we all worked together and came together for this vote. First, I have to explain to you what are broker votes. So broker votes are votes that are left untouched by the investor. So somebody has an account with a broker, but doesn't vote or can't vote or forgot to vote or whatever. So the broker is then sitting on these. So it's not fund managers, it's not retail shareholders that voted, but it is those accounts that could potentially vote but did not vote. And so there is very clear SEC guidance of what happens to these broker votes. They are only allowed to vote on very specific minimal subjects, like, for example, the appointment of Pricewaterhouse. So that was one of the subjects where they could vote. They could not vote on the compensation. They could not vote on the move to Texas. So those votes are really a shame, because if these people would over time have, looked after their votes or would have had the possibility to vote, we should have very, very little broker votes. But there we are. Now, if you look, this is a table of the last 10 proxy votes, and in line number 4, the comp package in 2018. And as you see in the comp package line, no broker voted because it was a subject on which brokers cannot vote, right? Brokers can only vote on very basic stuff. So, but what you can see is even if we had, as you see at the beginning, only 1.9 billion shares outstanding, now we're down at that at 3.2 nearly. Okay, so we're much higher, nearly double of that number. We always had a huge number of broker votes, from 439 million in the first year, going all the way up to 700 and something in 2019, and then always around 500 million shares that were broker votes, right? The most useless votes there are. But now this year, because of our effort of helping so many people create awareness to vote and also help people vote in Europe and Australia and everywhere else where they couldn't vote to now suddenly vote, we got down to only 335 million broker votes. So 191 million votes were suddenly liberated. We're not stuck in the stupid broker vote status anymore. And then add to that their total vote tally, the total votes casted, increased by 225 million. So people that had voted just are now higher numbers. So in total, this liberated 417 million votes. Now, 417 million votes out of 3.186 billion votes, that is 13%. And by what margin did Texas win over the 50% vote necessary? By 13%. So the fact that these broker votes became accessible and that more people voted is the reason why Texas passed. And that's why I want to thank each and every one of you who lived through these 6 weeks with having me and so many others tell you, vote, 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 go out there, check whether you've voted with all your accounts, do what you need to do. Help the internationals. I mean, it was crazy. What happened was really crazy, but the result is so worth it because this is what carried us over the line of 50% for Texas, and actually it carried us so much over the line that we got to 63%. So I couldn't be more grateful. Tesla obviously is very grateful, as I don't know whether you want to show those pictures and videos of what happened there, because when we then arrived at the shareholder meeting, they had allowed us to set up this banner. People that were there signed for their friends. I mean, there are signatures all over the place. This banner was left with Tesla to remind them of this historic day. So I was one of the early ones who still had some space to sign. I was looking at this. I mean, I think it was a great idea, and I want to thank Jeff who chipped in. So the two of us paid for the banner, and Tesla was really gracious in allowing us to bring it. And by the time we had to go back to security and come back in, so about 20 minutes later, it was built up. You see there, I'm with Xander, and so they had put it up in a corner. It was crazy actually, because this time the whole entrance hall of the Austin headquarters was full of chairs. We were at least 2,000, maybe even 2,500 people attending the shareholder meeting. So it was much, much bigger than last year. Last year it was only in one corner of the entrance hall, and there was hardly any place to move around. There were a couple of small corridors where you could get from one corner to the other, but they found a place to put that banner up, and people gathered there and were chatting there. That's actually where I met, in that corner where I met Kathleen Wilson-Thompson and the law crew that is helping her for that special committee. So it was a cute place to take selfies, to meet people. It was really a precious moment, and I'm pleased we did that. And thank you, Jeff, again for helping me pay for it.
I did the easy stuff.
No, you were my bodyguard all day long.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great experience just meeting everybody at the shareholder meeting. It was great. I'd never taken so many pictures, and yeah, it was great just talking to people, shaking hands. I was just to say a couple of things. You did more than just remind people to vote. You went to, contacting various agencies, trying to actually unlock the ability for people to vote that couldn't vote. So it wasn't more just like, hey, please don't forget to vote. It was people responding to you saying, I can't because of this. And you kind of went in and looked at like, well, where are these big opportunities where we could unlock a lot of votes and empower people? And you went in and did that. So I think there's a lot more going on behind it than I think you're giving yourself credit for. And
Thank you.
and if the other thing I would say is the number of people that were coming up to you, they wanted to meet you, but they wanted to thank you for advocating on behalf of shareholders, because they hold some number of shares. It could be 10 shares, 5 shares, thousands, whatever. And the work that you did and that others participated in as well, you're protecting their capital, because there was no plan for the no vote. Like for the no vote, like for the yes vote, you have everything that Elon and his management team have laid out, his leadership. You have the greatest inventor and leader maybe in business history. Well, history will judge us. You have that on the yes side. On the no side, it was a clown show, and you prevented kind of the clown show from kind of marching in. I saw like on a lot of the faces of the people that came up to you, just genuine like relief, but also just admiration for your effort, because that meant a lot to many people. So thanks for your efforts. It's really good.
Well, thank you, Jeff. And like I said, I think we did make the difference, and that's just an incredible feeling. I also want to point out, and I think it's important to recall that by having this yes vote, and hopefully we're getting through this now with the Delaware courts, we're actually preserving what we have already paid for. Meaning between 2018 and 2022, we paid as shareholders the 2.3 billion stock options that were prepared for Elon. So those are done, right? That's done. By canceling that, if we would have wanted to put exactly the same package in place today, just so that it was restored, not going back to the ratification, but redoing it now under the same terms, it would have cost us 25 billion. So the difference of this effort for all of us is a gain of $23 billion. So this is considerate, and I just want to make sure everybody understands what we did here, because it was really worthwhile, and I think it was worthwhile, of course, for Elon. I mean, you see how pumped up he is. I mean, he was the happiest chap out there. It was beautiful to see. I had the feeling, as if I would see one of my kids being just happy with what they did. It was so relatable. And the other thing I really want to call out, I'm not sure she watches Cyber Bulls, but May Musk helped me so much. There were moments I was getting tired, and I mean, stuff of this happened while I was on my Europe trip and while I was one of my children getting married. I mean, it was the craziest 6 weeks of my life. No doubt about it. And I'm no regrets, but just, to put this in. Yeah. And there she was reposting, and there she was applauding, or she was cheering me on. And then she started following me and sent me a very, very, beautiful DM saying, "This doesn't go unnoticed. We're here. We're with you." I was like, my gosh, keep on going, Alexandra. What the heck about being tired? And, this is family for us. This Tesla family. And I don't want to exaggerate. I'm not somebody who usually goes overboard, but there's really something happening. This is our company, and this is our family. And when I hear people say, including my own brother, my brother was so upset. "You helped Elon getting 56 billion. I was like, no, I did not. But there we are. So, but when I hear these people, they only see the monetary side of it. I couldn't care really less about the monetary side, other than the fact that the deal is a deal, and he earned that money hardly. But the fact is, it's much above monetary. It's about a man, his vision, us following him in this vision, understanding him, communicating with us, making sure we understand we're on board with that, and seeing how far this is going to go in the years to come. I can't even think that he would, disappoint us. But we cannot let him down either. And we did not let him down. We made this happen. And I'm so grateful everybody pulled together to do this.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Yeah, the Tesla retail shareholders stood up. And with your guidance and everyone else, you guys actually were able to turn a number of very large brokerage firms to actually open it up for the retail shareholders to step up and vote. And this is not over, but you have unleashed and kind of mobilized this Tesla shareholder. Don't mess with Tesla retail shareholders. You can see here that the board of Tesla really do appreciate the work that we have done. You were kind of the person that they recognize. But every time you see Robin Denholm, when she first met you and wanted to hug you and thank you personally.
Join the board.
And then this is, what's her name? Kathleen?
Yeah, Kathleen Wilson-Thompson. She's
Wilson,
the board
on the
member,
board?
but she's also on the board member, but she's also the head of the single person special committee. This is the way they put this move to Texas in place so that the judge had all her requirements and the revote fulfilled. So those were the lawyers that's actually how it happened. We were in front of that banner, and you see Kristen here with the orange straps here. She tapped me on the shoulder and she said, you're Alexandra, right? And I said, yes. I mean, Jeff can tell you, there were people all the time, right? Thanking me, taking selfies. And I mean, I loved it. Who doesn't want to be famous for 15 minutes? There I was. And so she said, I'm Kristen Seeger. And I thought I heard that name before, but I mean, everything went blank, right? And she said, yeah, we're the lawyers advising the special committee. And there is John, and there is the board member, Kathleen Wilson-Thompson. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it, right? Being able to meet them. And then she said, Kristen said, the letter you all wrote in February, so that's Amy, please a shout out to Amy again, where we asked and we got 5,800 people signing up, giving their address, giving their share count, and then writing to the board saying, here we are, a couple of days after that initial judgment from Delaware came out. Here we are, 5,800 shareholders representing more than 28 million shares. And we want you, the board, to revote, to ratify the quickest possible this vote again, and to move out of Delaware and consider different options, including Tesla. That was our message to them. That was our letter to us. And so there I had Kristen Seeger saying to me, it couldn't have been more perfect. You gave us what the to-do list, and then you gave us the munition, and now we could fire. I was standing there, I was like, there you are, because as I explained often, we were doing things, but we were never guided by Tesla. People were saying, oh, they told you what to do. No, nobody told me anything to do, and I wouldn't have taken it. Actually, from time to time, anything I did was always public. I wanted to make sure everything is on X. If I don't want any backlogs, whatever. So at one point, I actually tagged Martin a couple of times, saying, Martin, we need help. We have problems in Norway. What can I do in Norway? And just nothing came, right? Nothing. And then you're right, Jeff. When we did that survey, it became very quickly clear where were the clusters. It was in England, it was in Scandinavia, it was in Germany, Austria, and Australia. And once we had that information, again, I made it public. I said, I'm going to send the raw data of our surveys to Tesla, but here is my summary. And obviously, it helped that Elon then reposted and pinned those two tweets over a weekend. That's what gave it the whole steam, and that's when the dam broke. And when the Scandinavian bank said, "Okay, we'll do it manually, but we'll do it. We'll let you vote this time." But it was this public pressure, and it worked to an extent. It didn't work the last week anymore, where we had to find other solutions. But it worked for the 3 weeks in the middle, where we had really built up that pressure, and where I would say at least half of the banks that didn't allow voting before suddenly then allowed voting. And just to end on this subject, on the 31st of August this year, we will have the SEC filings of all the firms that are managing money in America. And so we will know what they voted on proxies over the last 12 months for any company, not just Tesla, but obviously also the Tesla results. And I will not be shy to call out those that voted no, especially if they had voted yes in 2018, like we already know for Allianz Global Investors in Germany, because I think that is just the worst of the hypocrisy that is possible. How can you initially vote for it thinking, oh, he will never get there anyway, but at least he doesn't get paid then, right? But you vote for it, you get all the monetary gain from it, and now 6 years later, when you just have to reinstate something you voted initially for, you vote no. do these people really deserve your money? Do you really want to invest with people like that? Because you have to understand this fund management industry. I come from the industry. I can tell you, even more now than 20 years ago, their products are identical. You have NASDAQ ETFs, you have the same crap everywhere, no matter who the fund manager is that puts the name on it. So if we have some really naughty people in there, you may want to consider change your fund manager.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. So we've got a lot more to work on. Appreciate everything. You are so appreciated, not only from us retail shareholders. A couple times in the meeting, you were called out. Elon himself, did he not do a quick couple bows to you? Really
he did.
thanking you.
Can you imagine freaking Elon Musk bowed to me?
A little bow, but you deserve it. And then you've got the hugs from the board members, and then Elon follows you. So this is not the ending. The retail shareholders standing up together can be very powerful, and there will be many more events that will be going forward. One of the big benefits of what we did was voting, moving to Texas. This allows Texas to now have preferred shares, right? There's two classes of voting shares. Can you explain to us what is the benefit of this?
Sure. So this was actually already hidden in the proxy statement. So the 566 pages had in them how they would publish the certificate of organization in Texas. And in that, so that's happened immediately on the 13th in the evening. I mean, you got to give it to these lawyers. Until the Wednesday, probably nobody knew whether we would win this. And on the Thursday evening, they were ready to do the filing. So they filed with the incorporation with the state of Texas, which got accepted on the 14th. And by filing, they added about 10 pages with the main rules under which this company is going to be governed. So a couple of things. First of all, in Delaware, we were called Tesla Motors, Inc. In Texas, we're now called Tesla Inc. only. There's no more Motors. Second thing is, in Texas, we now have the possibility to have what is called preferred stock. So you all remember that Elon, with all the dangers of AI and AGI, always said, I mean, it's all good with Tesla, but even if this 2018 comp package is back in, I will be just under 20%. What I really would like to have is voting rights of 25% of the company. Now, you have to know that most of the big companies, of the big mega companies, have a shareholder, the key shareholder, having much higher voting rights. I think in the case of Meta, Zuckerberg even has more than 50% of the voting rights. So this is not unusual. It just is that when Tesla IPO'd under Delaware law in 2010, I just think they had so many other things to think about that, and Elon then still had a good chunk of the shares that nobody even considered thinking about that. And then once you are IPO'd in Delaware, you can hardly change it. It would have been very complicated. So it would have needed at least a supermajority, and still, I mean, after this year's vote, probably everything is possible. But until this year, nobody would have believed this would be possible. So what they did is, by reincorporating in Texas, one of the advantages is that they could replay the rules, right? And they had published these rules in the proxy. So anybody who wanted to look at them, but people were so busy looking at this 56 billion package, which was never really thought through, whatever they reported. So nobody reported on the Texas stuff. I mean, so many times I was laughing here and thinking, oh my gosh, keep on talking about the compensation package. And actually, Herbert, you probably remember a space where I said a couple of weeks ago to everybody that Texas vote is so much more important. Look at the proxy. But anyway, so there we are. So now the certificate of formation shows in Article 4 that you can issue preferred stock, and at the discretion of the board of directors. So not a new vote, they can issue preferred stock that has voting rights. So exactly where you have your cursor there, because lots of people, including Warren, was telling me, oh, preferred stock doesn't have voting rights. Well, here we go. This preferred stock has voting rights. So this could be something that could just materialize tomorrow. This is not something that has to go through shareholder vote again. The board of director can issue preferred stock with voting rights. So this could be, for example, to Elon. I think he's the most, wants to have voting rights. But this could also be to keep the AI engineers, right? They could have preferred stock with certain rules. And I'm all for it. I'm just all for it because that just solves that whole issue.
Wonderful. Big moves. What about this? So just to end this up, let's wrap this up. This vote is not over. Voted Tesla 24, but there's going to be things you want us to do, we need to still do in the future.
Thank you so much. So the first thing I wanted you all to do, and that's over now, was to sign a petition where we support Amy's objection in the Delaware case and also support a letter that Tesla's lawyers have filed with Delaware last Friday saying, look, now we voted again. How about rather than going to this judgment, we all sit around the table and discuss what should be done now, rather than the judge now continuing with her, oh, we need to find how much the plaintiff's attorney needs to be paid and whatever. So we want to support that. We want this case to be over with. We don't want this current state preliminary judgment to stand. And we hope the judge accepts that. The chances of the judge accepting that, less than 10%, right? But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have tried. And more than 8,000 people in the last 48 hours have signed that petition. And we sent it this morning to Delaware for 2 court cases, for the Tornetta one, and for there's Donald Ball case that I think will be thrown out anyway, dismissed, but that we added it there. And we also sent a copy to Tesla's board of directors so that they know about it. So that was the last 3-4 days. Exceptional turnout. I mean, there is no company in the world, and that's actually another good reason why Elon bought X, because we can mobilize, right, with X. But there's no company in the world that in 48 hours has 8,000 shareholders sign things like that. It's just incredible. Anyway, so that was done, including, by the way, May Musk, who also very kindly put her address there, but I blacked that out. I thought there's no way I'm going to send May Musk's, her name I left there, but I'm not going to send her private address to a judge in Delaware. So I blacked that out. So anyway, so that was done. So there's still 2 other surveys that I would need your help with. One is we want to do a list of recommended brokers and banks that you can recommend. So if you are happy with your bank or broker, if you could vote, please participate in that survey, fill it out. If you have a referral code, because the bank remunerates you in one way or the other for helping people open bank accounts there, put it there. I'm all for it, that, anybody that helps in that stuff has any benefit of it. So we already have 1,600 people who participated in that. I have it open another 10 days. So if you want to refer to your good broker, please participate in that one. And there's obviously the mirror of that. If you still had problems voting, or if you think that your broker only helped this time but won't help next time, or won't have a permanent solution next time, fill out the second survey. So both those surveys are open until the end of the month of June. It's my pinned post. You find the links to either of them there, or if you have one happy bank and one bank you're not happy with, participate in both surveys, please do. The list of unhappy banks, or not unhappy banks, but banks that made you unhappy, is going to be sent to Tesla's IR department. Always remember, there are only 2-3 of them. It's a small group, and Martin's gone now. So we want to help them as much as we can with preparing this information, so they can either reach out, or maybe we can have what they have this time, a proxy solicitor from the beginning there to help all those that can't vote, but at least get the right letter so that they can vote then afterwards. So we just want to make sure next time it's not the same headache again, that we know who has issues, that those solutions put in place by Tesla, and then the bank list, broker list with whom people are happy with all those referrals. I'm going to just sort it by country and then publish it. It's going to be a Google Doc that I'm going to put out beginning of July, and then that will be the reference for anybody who wants to move their shares and is looking for a good recommendation, and they will find them there.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alexandra. So don't mess with Tesla retail shareholders. We mobilize. We're going to make sure that everything gets done well. Big deal. We're happy. Elon's happy. He's talking about Master Plan Part 4 now, guys. What is your thinking, Jeff? When you heard he's doing Master Plan Part 4, what do you think he's going to include in there?
Yeah, a couple of things. Thanks for Alexander for going through that. This is all about, the arteries of our shareholders, and Tesla's kind of at the heart, and really trying to just make sure we get a good flow into back into the company, and where everybody's unblocked and can vote. So I look forward to that continuing. So I think master plan part 4, I think Elon has used this term, is age of abundance. And where does that abundance come from? It comes from looking at the sources of human and capital equipment, human labor and capital equipment, and figuring out how to solve for that. And believe that's a humanoid robot, obviously. So I think that's going to be at the corner of it. And I also think what's going on the compute side, what's going on kind of at this full stack that Tesla's building. And I think it's going to take him a bit of time to build this plan out. He said he started on it. So it'll be interesting to see when he thinks he's going to complete it and be able to publish it. But if you look at kind of what he's, if you look at master plan 1, it's kind of biting off, going into, the auto industry, right? And then master plan part 2, deeper into the auto industry, starts getting to energy. 3, much more broader. And then now 4. So I just look at, it seems like it's going from many hundreds of billions to, a trillion to tens of trillion to like just this broader and bigger number. And I know some people struggle to understand or kind of comprehend, saying, well, that's the GDP of the entire world. That's not possible. Well, you in order to expand, I probably thought the same thing 100 years ago, when the GDP was much smaller, and obviously there's been this great expansion over time, through technology and so forth. So I'm excited. I mean, I think this is what motivates Elon. This is what motivates him to build great teams, to build these companies. And what else could he be? He can be doing whatever he wants, right? And so, but he's motivated to build out, I think he uses the master plan as kind of guideposts and guiding principles. And then he has his companies build their primary year and multi-year plans around that, and aligns it to that master plan. So it's a master plan for a reason. There's actual connection to real companies, real capital allocation, real brain power working to actually solve for these things. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see. I think one thing people need to realize, it's going to take a bit of time for some of these things to play out. Until you actually start seeing the balance of labor, change from, to humanoid, and there'll be things that you'd probably prefer humans to do, long term anyway. But anyways, this is going to take a bit of time to play out, but it's happening. When I say that, it's a couple of years. It's not a couple of decades. And I think if you just fast forward, where do you think things are going to look like 5 to 10 years from now? And you look at what Tesla's working on, whether it's autonomy, whether it's Grok, with XAI, or whether it's humanoids. And if you look at what they're working on and you try to envision like what the world's going to be like 5 to 10 years from now, they're really honestly at the center of much of it. And everything's not going to be a home run. Everything's not going to hit perfectly, but I think you've got the best team, the best leadership, and you've got maybe the best plan behind enabling it. So I'm excited to see hardware 4 get built out. Sorry, hardware 4, master plan 4. And I'm excited actually, just even the punditry even talking about like what could be in it and what are some of the thoughts. And it'll be interesting to see when it comes out.
Did you have thoughts on that, Alexandra?
I think the big topic is going to be labor, of everything that is coming together. I just have this feeling that the disruption of the labor market, the way humanity lives and works and interacts and will be assisted, will be smarter, will all be around this subject of disruption of labor. So so much looking forward. I mean, there's so much coming. 8.8 is less than 50 days away now, and then we're going to have master plan 4. There's so much to be excited about.
Yeah, I think it's going to be about the age of abundance. Every time you hear him being interviewed, he says things, and then you'll piece what he's saying. He's talking about abundance. He's talking about universal high income, not universal basic income. And it's going to be labor and everything AI, right? Everything's going to be powered with autonomy. He shared this at the last shareholders meeting, and he had these three that are covered. And I've been asking people this question: what do you think these three cars are, and why in this order? And various people have been sending me notes. They're going, "Oh, it's based on price. So that these cars on the left are priced higher than the ones on the right, or vice versa." And then so this is like the affordable versions. This could be the Roadster. Some people said, "Oh no, this is based on, the ones on the left is family vehicles, and the ones on the right are commercial vehicles." But then it was great. Gene Munster had produced this slide, and it made it more sense because this is 2023 Master Plan Part 3. Elon showed this. The numbers here are what the global needs are. You need to have this amount of electric fleet that's available. Not saying that Tesla will, have all of it. There'll be some pieces of it, but so the way that they organized this was they had the luxury cars on the left, they had the regular cars, sedans in the middle, then they had the semi, then they had the truck, and then they had this boxy one above the truck. So people thought that's the van. And this is likely, with 700 million, that's likely the robo-taxi, right? That's the one, or the low-cost car. Like that could be the low-cost sub $25,000 car. So that looks exactly the same as this one. This looks exactly the same as this one. So I'm curious.
No. I think the
what?
on the 2023, the car that is under the 700 million, the robotaxi, I think that's the one that's in the 2024 on the left top. Yeah.
They're exactly the same. Brian White took this image and overlaid it, and he said exactly the same image.
Okay. So I still think that's the Roadster there, just in terms of price. And
why would they have to cover the Roadster? They already know what it looks like. So who told me that? That was a great comment by somebody.
Well, if they would have wanted to put the Roadster out there without the cover, they could have put it, right? And they didn't.
So my guess is that this is actually the robotaxi, guys. It's going to be a London cab. Yep, it's going to be a London cab. It's not going to be a too small seater, no compact. If you're designing for robotaxi, you're optimizing entertainment and comfort. You're not optimizing for cost. You don't need to build low-cost cars. So I think this is the robotaxi on the left. This is a more affordable volume car. And yeah, this one. I'm still confused what this one is, but yeah.
But you may be right on the robotaxi, and that we always had that feeling. The robotaxi may come in multiple sizes, but I don't think the robotaxi will be as difficult to get into as a Model 3. And it does look, the size and height of a Model 3, doesn't it? I mean, I hate getting into our Model 3. I'm just too tall and too big for that.
There'll be a small and large robotaxi. And I think everything that I think we're going to be surprised. I think I don't know. I think what we've been thinking we're going to see versus what we see. I think we're going to be surprised. I do think we're going to have. I agree with Herbert, a little bit more of a purpose-built vehicle, but I think there'll be a small one as well. And then I think there will be a more affordable, drivable car. So I think those are the three things. I don't think you need to put a Roadster under the veil there. So I think that's what they're building. I think a small and a large robotaxi, and then a more affordable vehicle. And again, they don't have to be like exactly precise. They may do one or two more affordable vehicles. Who knows? But I think that's what it's what they said. I mean, they've told us what they're doing. He said what we're doing. This we said in the earnings call. Like we're going to be focused on a vehicle prior to the next generation platform. And I think that comes out. I think it comes out in the first half of next year, and I think the robotaxi would come out in the latter part of the second half of next year. And I think there'll be a small and a large.
And we'll see it on 8th. You think on August 8th?
If we get invited. Oh,
Now I have, you know what, how I had if I had one Christmas wish, I want to go get an invitation. I actually think I have a second Christmas wish, but I'm not sure I have the courage to ask it. I think he should do August 8th in the Sphere in Vegas rather than in Austin. Because first of all, hotels is much easier, commute is much easier. We could all try to use the Boring Tunnel, who now serves that. And it would hold so many more people, right? It would be so much easier. And I mean, it's so spectacular. And I don't know whether you've seen Kimball's post today with all these rising lights and whatever. I mean, you could do the most spectacular show in that Sphere rather than do it in the headquarters. But we'll see. And I don't know whether I have the courage to ask. So
that would have to be,
I already got it.
That would have to be in motion pretty, we've been booked a while ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually, when I thought about it yesterday, I wanted to check their concert rhythm, because it's really strange that the Sphere has all these blocks of concerts, and then in the middle they have that movies. It's always the same film that they show, and I mean they're booked out for that, but I'm sure you can. And actually buying it for a day, renting it for a day is sort of 400,000 if I remember right, the number, because I was there and I asked them last time. So it's not a horrendous price, but it needs obviously a lot of logistics to come together.
Okay, so we were talking about at Tesla at the beginning of the AI leader, all the investments, all the moves that Elon's making. Then we'd had a recap of the shareholder meeting, master plan FAR 4, FSD, and August 8th is coming very quickly. And there's been more news every day, every week. More news keep coming out about China, the 7 cities, the regulations, the opening up of FSD there. Most recent one was Tom Drew was apparently asked the question, when is FSD coming? And he said soon. I don't know what that means, but it's just lots of little breadcrumbs. They're all pointing that Tesla and China is moving fast. We even have CEOs of Chinese car companies coming out saying that they're testing FSD.
Xiaopeng,
they're saying Xiaopeng, and they're saying really good things. Elon replied to that saying, the biggest competitors, the next big competitors are the Chinese manufacturers. What do you guys think is the next big thing for Tesla? So are we going to have to wait till 8/8, which is, like you said, only 50 days, not a big deal, but is that the next big thing?
Well, we have earnings for Q2, which may surprise upwards or downwards. We'll see. With Tesla, there's never a dull day. And then 8/8 comes very quickly. May quickly I also use a shout out. There is also the X takeover end of July in San Luis Obispo in Central California. So, I mean, for us Tesla investors, 8/8 is going to come very quickly. There's so much happening in the meantime that this is just around the corner.
Yeah. So this is our panel will be there, the Cyber Bulls. We're going to present at the Tesla takeover, which is July 27th, 28th. It's a weekend in San Luis Obispo. You should come. This is going to be one of the biggest events that's always been ever since every year. Well kind of organized. This time they're going to have Franz, the designer, von Holsten, going to be the main speaker, and Jared Isaacman, also from Shift 4, who's one of the astronauts. He's going to come there as well. And then the following week, we're all going to go to 8/8. Alexandra got her ticket from Elon himself. Elon said, sure, I'll give you a ticket. And then Jeff and I are fighting for your +1. So I called dibs first, Jeff. So I don't know what you're going to pull out of your hat, but I called dibs. So
I've actually produced a +1 before, so and handed them out. So
what do you mean? What?
I was his +1. Obviously, Jeff has.
She owes you. Oh, damn it. Okay, no, it's not
don't
over.
Don't you worry. We'll get us all in. We'll get us all in.
Okay. It's going to be a big event. I need to be there, like you were saying earlier. I think, well, let's talk about it, right? This event, 8/8, I mean, we all love, Jeff has been to everyone. He makes it a point to go to every one of them. And I'm like, I pick and choose which ones I think are, do I want to go to the Tesla Semi event?
Underhanded comment, like what was
Don't you regret now that you didn't come to the shareholder meeting? Don't you regret now?
I regret that one.
Everybody was asking. They saw me and they're like, where's Herbert? Like, is he standing behind you? You can't see him.
We watch you on the Cyber Bulls all the time. Where's Herbert? And
daughter's graduation, Tesla shareholder meeting.
Yeah.
Close. Yeah. I should have gone, but obviously I had a fantastic time. Honestly, my family, we had a great time together. It was wonderful. All of us got together. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go Tesla Semi event. Jeff had to be there. I have to be this one. Why? Why do I need to be here? Well, I believe, right, that this is not just a vehicle unveil. This is a full company reinvention of the entire company. He's already hinted that we're moving away from vehicle sales into some sort of robotaxi, AI, real world AI subscription model. First time you can actually make money selling AI. This is going to revolutionize the world. I got to be there. This is a big event, even if it's just an announcement, even if this is the day that they say this is what's going to happen, because when it happens, we'll all look back to this day. And then the other event I need to be to, of course, is the Optimus. When that is out there, the bots is even bigger than this one, right? But do you guys agree? This is a pretty big event.
It is. I mean, 8/8, and I'm glad we have such a good date because we'll remember that date forever, right? Nobody remembers May 16, 23 when the last shareholder meeting was. So this is great to have a very special date on it. This is going to be historic, no doubt about it. And you should be there, Herbert, and we'll make sure you'll be there.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Herbert making his case for his +1 to all his fans. Someone will come.
A lot of fans do offer me, and then I had to turn them down for almost all the time. But this one, please.
He's taking all the invites. Keep on bringing them. No, but I think we should also.
He looks like that meme.
Nervous. But we should maybe recall to everybody that in order to be eligible, make sure you're registered with IRR for Tesla, and it's check whether you're still registered, because I've heard from a couple of people that thought they'd registered 2 years ago and suddenly they were not anymore, so they had to re-register. So make sure you all go there. Make sure you're all, probably I shouldn't say that because that lowers the probability that Herbert is going to get in. No, I'm
what? Why? No, we want as many
because if
people.
there's so many people in the pot, no. I want Herbert to be there.
I want to be there. I'll be there. Jeff, final comments about the Cybertruck. You took possession about that about 2 weeks ago, a month ago. How's that going?
I love it. I mean, it is unbelievable. It's an unbelievable driving experience. It's something only Tesla could have made. I keep going back to that commentary of, and just every time I walk in front of it, I look at it, I can't believe a company made a product like this. It is really a special product. So I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. And I've got Tesla insurance too. Again, I was pretty skeptical. I have a pretty good insurance coverage, but then there's issues with covering the Cybertruck. So just the insurance worked out, everything worked out. And it's a great experience. I love it.
Wonderful. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate both your comments on these big topics. What's happening with Elon? What's happening with AI and compute? What's happened with the shareholder meeting, master plan part 4, and the 8/8 that's coming up. Thank you both. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Herbert. Speak soon.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.